On July 22, 2015, just after 11:30 p.m. in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 13-year-old Crystal Bever fights for her life as blood gushes from the cut in her throat. She's just been viciously attacked and stabbed by her own brother, Robert. Crystal makes it out the front door, screaming for help before collapsing in the front yard. Soon, police arrived at 709 Magnolia Court to a horrific scene. 5 members of the Bever family were brutally murdered in their own home. The killers aren't deranged strangers. They're 2 of the Bever children themselves, Robert Bever and his 16-year-old brother, Michael Bever. What could drive 2 brothers to commit such an unthinkable act of violence against their own flesh and blood? What dark secrets and twisted fantasies festered in their minds? This is the shocking and disturbing story behind one of the most brutal family murders in recent memory. David and April Bever married in 1987. April was only 15 years old and David was 23 at the time. They had 7 children together, 4 sons and 3 daughters. The Bever family mostly stayed at their large residence, which was located at 709 Magnolia Court in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, located about 20 minutes southeast of Tulsa. April stayed at home and taught all the children, who were homeschooled. David worked from home as a technology consultant with Hewlett-Packard, better known as HP. They appeared to be a quite ordinary family. Neighbors reported that the family of 9 kept to themselves and were quiet and reclusive. On July 22, 2015, around 11:30 p.m., police received a 911 call from 12-year-old Daniel Bever, reporting that his brother was attacking the family at 709 Magnolia Court. Screaming and commotion were heard before the call ended abruptly. Dispatchers traced the address and sent officers to the scene after being unable to reach the father, David Bever. Officers arrived just a few minutes later. They found puddles of blood in the front yard and on the doorstep of the front door. They heard weak cries coming from inside the house. They quickly decided to break down the locked front door. Inside, they found 13-year-old Crystal Bever, who had severe stab wounds, including a slit throat. She was barely breathing. Her injuries were extremely severe. It appeared that she was pulled back into the house, judging by the trail of blood from her body that led outside. She told the police that her brother Robert was the one who attacked her. The police called for an ambulance, and the emergency medical technicians hurried Crystal to the hospital. They didn't think she would make it because her internal organs were showing from the cuts on her body, and she had lost a lot of blood. As police searched the rest of the house cautiously, they discovered 2-year-old Autumn Bever sleeping peacefully and without any injuries in an upstairs bedroom. Sadly, 52-year-old David and 44-year-old April Bever, along with 3 of their 7 children, 12-year-old Daniel, 7-year-old Christopher, and 5-year-old Victoria, had passed away. From what Crystal told authorities when they got there, the authorities knew they needed to find 18-year-old Robert Bever. The officers used K9 units to search the outside area of the home. As the officers approached the back of the house, they spotted a young man running away towards a wooded area. One of the K9 dogs was able to chase the man down before he escaped. However, it ended up not being Robert Bever. It was his younger brother, 16-year-old Michael Bever. The police quickly saw that he was covered in blood and dirt. Initially, the officers thought Michael might have managed to get away from the attack because Crystal had only mentioned that Robert stabbed her. Before they could understand what had happened, Robert, who was hiding in the woods with a knife, surrendered as the K9 officers approached. The officers quickly took Robert and Michael into custody. The blood on Michael's clothes was later examined and discovered to be April's. Forensic testing on one knife revealed Michael's blood on the handle, and the blade had blood from either his father, David, or one of his brothers, Christopher or Daniel. None of them could be excluded from the DNA evidence. It was clear from the evidence that Michael was not just a victim, but a suspect. It was very clear to the police that Michael and Robert had worked together and killed 5 of their family members. They were both charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of aggravated assault and battery with a deadly weapon. The judge denied bail for both Robert and Michael. Crystal Bever had surgery on her wounds, and although doctors thought the worst, she managed to get better from her injuries. Bravely, she was the one who identified the bodies of her siblings for the coroner. Detectives managed to identify David and April using the IDs they found at the scene. News of the horrific attack on the Bever family by two of their own children shocked Broken Arrow, a city with just over 100,000 people. The legal system worked swiftly to ensure justice for the Bevers. On August 3, 2015, Special Judge Deborah Ludi-Leitch entered not guilty pleas for both Robert and Michael. Their preliminary hearing was set for October 28, 2015. On October 1, 2015, 27 days before their preliminary hearing, Michael Bever's defense attorney Rob Nye filed a motion to have him tried as a juvenile. However, the motion was denied by a Tulsa County judge on October 12, 2015, and Michael was tried as an adult. On September 7, 2016, Robert Bever pleaded guilty to all 5 first-degree murder charges. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences, which means he'll spend the rest of his life in prison without any chance of parole. Robert had entered a plea agreement in exchange for not receiving the death penalty. While in prison, Robert got tattoos on his hands. On one hand, he has the number 5, and on the other hand, he has the letters LWOP, which stands for life without parole. It looked like he was proud of what he did to his family. On May 9, 2018, Michael Bever was convicted on 5 first-degree murder charges. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences, including 28 years for assault and battery with intent to kill. During Michael's trial, the shocking details of what happened in the Bever home that terrible night was revealed. It wasn't a sudden decision for the brothers to kill their family. It wasn't a quick argument that got out of hand. Instead, it was part of a much larger and longer-standing plan, an agreement between the two brothers. According to Michael, the plan actually started on June 30, 2015, which was more than 30 days before the murders. But Michael said that his brother Robert had been fantasizing about murdering his family for a much longer time. He also stated that he and his siblings rarely went outside. They didn't have any friends except for each other. During one late-night conversation, they found out that they both had a dark fantasy in common. Robert was known for collecting knives and was said to be obsessed with dark things like serial killers and gory movies. His favorite movie was even about a young man who went on a killing spree. But Michael admitted that he too liked similar things. Robert Bever had bought 2,000 rounds of ammunition, guns, and knives online. Some of the order, like the ammunition, was supposed to arrive at the house on July 23rd, while the guns were going to be picked up from a local gun store by someone over 21. But neither of the boys was old enough to pick up the guns that Robert had ordered. When he was younger, Robert would spend all the money he made working on things like knives and armor. But when he turned 18, he realized he could buy guns. These guns would be the weapons the brothers would use to kill their family. But when they realized they couldn't pick them up because they were too young, they changed their plans. Around 11 p.m. on the night of the murders, most of the family had already gone to bed. Crystal went to tell Robert and Michael that their mom wanted them to do some dishes. When she walked in to tell them, Crystal found her 2 brothers putting on body armor, and they had multiple knives laid out on a bed. Though it was strange, this wasn't exactly new to her. She had seen them wearing body armor before, and their collection of knives wasn't a secret. What was new this time, and what immediately caught Crystal's attention, was when she heard Michael ask Robert, "Should we do it right now?" Michael then told Crystal to look at the computer. They had something they wanted to show her. When she did, Robert covered her mouth with his hand and slit her throat from behind. Crystal said that at the start she did not realize what happened. She only tasted metal in her mouth. The boys planned for the cut to Crystal's throat to cause death quickly. They planned to put her body in the closet and then attack another member of her family. Michael pulled Crystal up onto the porch. He also turned off the alarm system in the home. While Michael was dragging Crystal back inside the home, Robert attacked their mother, April. April screamed as she was stabbed about 48 times in total, mostly in her upper body, including her arms, neck, face, chest, and abdomen. Crystal testified for the prosecution at Michael's trial. She said she remembered hearing her mother screaming while Robert was attacking and chasing her. This led authorities to believe that both boys had stabbed her. Robert later said that his mother, April, prayed for him out loud while he killed her. April got the most injuries out of anyone in the family, but authorities found out that she didn't fight back much. She had some defensive wounds, but she couldn't run outside like Crystal could. By this time, the other children in the home had woken up and were hiding after hearing the terrible screaming. 7-year-old Christopher and 5-year-old Victoria were hiding in a locked bathroom. Michael knocked on the door and begged his younger brother, saying, "Let me in. He's going to kill me." Trying to save their brother, they opened the door, and Christopher and Victoria were both brutally killed. Christopher was stabbed 21 times in the upper body, and Victoria was stabbed in her neck, back, chest, face, and abdomen at least 23 times. After that, Michael and Robert went to their father's home office together. 12-year-old Daniel was locked inside, hiding from the chaos. He used Michael's cell phone to call 911. Once again, Michael begged his little brother to help him. This was the trick he had used before. He begged to be let in because Robert was going to kill him, and again it worked. Daniel opened the door in an effort to try to help his brother. But once the door was open, Michael grabbed the phone from him. He said, "Hello," before smashing the phone down. This was recorded on the 911 call. He then said to his older brother, Robert, "He's all yours." Daniel was stabbed 21 times in the stomach, chest, head, neck, and back. It was at this point that David Bever, their father, came out of the master bedroom to see what was happening. And without warning, Robert attacked him, stabbing him 28 times in the back, chest, neck, and abdomen. Just minutes after the 911 call was made, officers arrived at the scene. Michael and Robert ran to the woods and the creek behind the home, trying to escape. Neither Robert nor Michael expected the family to fight back. They definitely did not plan what to do if any victims called for help. They did not plan to surrender in the woods behind their house just minutes after their murder spree began. What they envisioned was apparently killing each family member systematically, and when they were done, they planned to dismember the bodies and store them in plastic bins in their attic. This included their youngest sister, Autumn. They planned to decapitate her using an axe. Their plan was interrupted when the police arrived, which they did not expect. They wanted to kill at least 100 more people besides their family, targeting small groups at gas stations and restaurants. Crystal testified that Robert and Michael had talked about murdering their family and stealing their parents' money for at least a year. They admired mass shooters who got away and believed there were too many people in the world. Crystal told her mom, April, about the disturbing things her brothers said, but April dismissed it as, "Boys will be boys." Their father, David, only cared that Robert wasted his money on knives and body armor, not about the disturbing things his son said. Crystal bravely testified about the tragic details in a separate courtroom, so Michael could not see her. He cried during her testimony. Robert also testified at Michael's trial. At one point, he broke down crying and had to leave the courtroom, apologizing and saying he did not know what he was thinking. Michael also cried during his testimony, causing some jurors to tear up. Robert tried to take full responsibility for the killings, claiming Michael was present but not looking when he cut Crystal's throat. Robert said the only thing Michael did was convince their siblings to open their locked doors. He admitted lying to the police earlier during the investigation when he said Michael stabbed 2 siblings, claiming he wanted Michael to share credit if they became famous. But he clarified that Michael should not get credit since he did not actually kill anyone. In May of 2018, the home was demolished, and the city of Broken Arrow started transforming the property into a garden. The garden was dedicated on March 27, 2019. Robert is currently incarcerated at the Joseph Harp Correctional Center, while Michael is housed at the Lexington Correctional Center, both located in Lexington, Oklahoma. What are your thoughts about this horrific story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you are new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to be notified for future cases. You can also follow us on Instagram at Urban Crime Stories. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you with another episode of Urban Crime Stories.